Buenos días, Giuliano. Hi, everyone.
Hola, hola. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Hello, Giuliano, and everybody else connected. So today we are going to be doing a webinar called Mastering NDI in ProtoPixel Software. Just to give you a brief introduction for those of you that don't know what NDI is. NDI stands for Network Device Interface, and it is basically a communication protocol to be able to send videos over a computer network. Yeah, so today we will be seeing how we integrate this inside of our ProtoPixel mapping tool. So just to introduce ourselves, we're going to be your host today for the webinar. My name is Catalina Ansaldi. I'm a content technologist at ProtoPixel. So basically in charge of everything related to contents here at ProtoPixel. Before we get started, I just wanted to tell you that today is a very important day because we are launching a new platform release. So it's going to be a big upgrade of our platform. And what was previously known as our software ProtoPixel Create is now known as ProtoPixel Mapping Tool, which we will be looking at today. So my apologies if in any moment I say create, it is just a mistake from our name changing for our new platform release. And also with this new release, we will be launching our project tool and our ProtoPixel app. So this is a big upgrade for us to expand our capabilities and be able to take fuller and more complex projects. So a very special day for this. And also, as I was saying, I am in charge of contents and ProtoPixel. So with this new release, you will also be able to see new contents inside our content library. I am also in charge of handling contents, custom-made contents for projects that we do with ProtoPixel, mainly with our partners. So today we're going to be looking at a specific project that we created content with our partner here, Joan Sandoval, who is a creative coder, and he can introduce himself, who is also my friend.
Hi, hi everyone. I'm Joan. Thanks for having me in this webinar. I see that today we are wearing both glasses. I'm from Barcelona. I'm a creative coder slash digital artist, and I mainly work with projects that explore design, arts, and technology. The format usually of these projects can vary greatly. On one side, there are projects that are more installation-like. It can be sound, lights, interactive, immersive installations. And then on the other side, there are other projects that can be also more into the performance format, more in the context of like a theater or a context in like a music festival, like audiovisual show or such. Also, my role in these kind of projects also can vary a lot. There are projects where the brief and the concept is already made and it's very clear. So in this kind of projects, I'm more on the technical side of the project. There are projects that I can get more into the creative process, and then there are projects that I can be the artist, and there is where also I have more freedom to develop. Maybe I can share the screen for a moment just to show some of the last projects on my screen one. Okay, so maybe I'm just gonna briefly explain 2 or 3. Maybe I can start with my first one, which is called Maestro, which joined different studios. There was Handcoded, there was Tigre Lab, and there was also ProtoPixel. Especially here, ProtoPixel developed this small-scale model of this building that was a library. And yeah, I remember going to the old first offices, I think, of ProtoPixel, and there were like 4 people in total or something. So yeah, I can see how big it came now. But yeah, so this project was like a interactive video mapping that had different modes. There was one mode where through this model, you could kind of paint onto the building. There was another modes that the model was turning into like a musical sampler, and then you could play music and different stuff. One of the recent projects is Oasi by the light designer Antonia Rola that happened here in Barcelona. It was part of the Digital Impact exhibition. And this was more meditative, let's say, installation where people would come in this dome and then would contemplate different skies that can happen on this planet.
Another project we used NDI for.
Exactly, and this is a project that was powered by ProtoPixel technology, as you said, and the process that we followed here to develop the project is very similar than the process that we are gonna explain later in this webinar. And then maybe the last project that I was involved in, it was Aura by Pablo Balbuena. And this is a project that it's currently happening until the beginning of November. And it's a project that is happening in the St. Paul's Cathedral in London. And it's basically a project where the different sounds that happen in this cathedral and translated into sound. So, for example, the sounds of the organ, of the choir, of the priests, and for that we placed different microphones in the cathedral to capture the sounds. And then what we do is get the live sound and transform it into lights by showing the different frequencies of the sound in that column.
Very cool. So as you see, Joan is very smart and very technical.
No.
So if we in any point get too technical during the webinar, I hope we will make it somewhat easy.
Not.
Yeah. Thank you, Joan, for sharing your projects. Okay, so you can see my screen again, yeah?
I can, yeah.
Perfect. So just to tell you a little bit what we will be seeing today in the webinar. So as we mentioned, we will be looking at a specific project, which I will explain a little bit just what the project consisted of. For this project, we received a content brief. So the client, in this case, told us exactly what he wanted. As Joan mentioned, sometimes he's on each side of the content development. In this case, we already received a brief from the client of what he wanted to achieve, and we were basically just the technical part of achieving this content. We will look at the technical specifications of the project, so just so you can have a general idea of what it was. We will show you how this project is created inside of our ProtoPixel mapping tool. And then Joan will explain his content creation process. So a little bit the different softwares that he uses, how he integrates the NDI into the ProtoPixel mapping tool, and how he integrates also image and sound, because as we will see, this content also has sound, until the final export of the final content. Then we will see how we enter this final content inside of the project. And at the end, we will have about 5 to 10 minutes for questions and answers. You should have a small icon inside of the Zoom to ask any questions. So if you want, during the webinar, if you have any questions, you can enter them there, and then we will read them at the end in this section. So first, we're just going to look at a little video of the projects to give you a brief explanation, and then I will continue.
Fotografia di luce per Living Pies, Aria Libera, nasce del concetto del prodotto libero fatto per iGuzzini. Libera nasce con l'intenzione di portare la luce in un modo trasversale a diversi spazi, che è un elemento fatto per creare il disegno di ogni.
Uno spazio cangiante, con una luce che vibra, entro cui Guzzini racconta la sua storia, racconta il suo futuro. È un esercizio giocato sul confine tra innovazione tecnologica e atmosfera dell'ambiente quotidiano, dell'ambiente domestico di vita.
Okay, so in this project, there was 3 parts, mainly involved 3 companies, Artec Studio here in Barcelona, iGuzzini, and ProtoPixel. And a little bit just to explain what was seen in the video. So the project was designed for the lighting fair Euroluce, which happens every 2 years in Milan. So this project was developed this year in 2023 for Milan. And the project was called Living Vibes, the installation. The installation was designed mainly this area here to present iGuzzini's light fixture called Libera. It is a lighting system, as you could see in the video, which can be structured in many different ways to be able to light up rooms in different ways. So iGuzzini was in charge of the project design and obviously of the light fixtures. Then Artec Studio, and specifically Maurici Ginés, he was in charge of the light scenography. So the light scenography in this case was called Aria Libera, which in Italian means basically free air or freedom, air freedom. So the idea here and the concept was basically to perceive this sense of freedom. And what they wanted to give in this room is a sensation as if you were flying through clouds, let's say. So that is the main concept that they had for this area here. And then ProtoPixel, we were in charge of basically implementing the technological part of the project and also implementing the content onto all the fixtures. So here we can see that we have this room, but I'll explain a little bit more when we see the general scope of the project, that this was not the only room that we were creating content for. So today we're going to mainly focus on this relationship and conversation that we had with Maurici Ginés, who already had very clear what his concept was and what it is exactly that he wanted to transmit with this room. And this is basically what he transmitted to us and to Joan to be able to develop the content and implement it inside of the project. So as I mentioned, the main idea was this sense of freedom that they wanted to perceive inside of this room. And Maurici was very clear about his idea that he wanted it to have different layers. So it was basically 4 layers. And as I mentioned before, there was also sound involved. So each one of these layers, he described one as the background, 2 layers of different types of clouds, either with sound or with color of these clouds, and a 4th layer that were small interferences that sometimes would appear either in light or in sound. So it is basically the final content is made up of these different layers, which you'll be able to see in Joan's process when he shows you the content creation process. But mainly we had to find this interaction between image and sound and of light and sound and be able to make this sync for the final content. And Joan, if you want to add anything in any moment, you tell me, but because I can't right now.
No,
okay?
no, you're speaking very clear.
So as I said, this room was the main focus, but there was other rooms in the whole installation. So just to give you a general idea, the entrance was through this hall here, which had some light fixtures as you saw in the video, but these were not controlled. And then as you enter, you have this first area here, Sala Italian Echoes, which is this one that you see here in the picture. So in this room, we did control LED strips that were integrated inside of these vertical walls here, as you can see. Similar to the room at the Sala Libera. Here's another perspective so you can see these light fixtures here. Then once you pass this room here, you enter the Sala Libera. So this room had the LED strips integrated inside of the wall, and these walls were made up of 2 metallic meshes. So the LED strips were facing the backside. So basically the lighting would appear kind of enclosed inside of these 2 metallic mesh. So we had all of the vertical LED strips inside of these walls. And then, as I said, it's to promote the lighting fixture of iGuzzini Libera system, which are these light fixtures hanging here. These light fixtures are DMX protocol, so they are not pixel to pixel as were the LED strips in the wall. So you'll see when I show you the project inside of the mapping tool, how these are points and they're not LED strip fixtures. And then for the final rooms, there's 2 rooms here. This room here had an LED strip installed on top of this wall here. So the light effect would show here on the roof, as you can see from the render. And then some few final vertical strips right before you exit the room here. So as you can see, here is a little bit of a 2D plan of all of the light fixtures. Our software supports mainly 2D images. So this is why we recommend having everything out flat when you want to create the projects inside of the mapping tool. So as you can see here, we have it a little bit divided into the different areas. This one here is the entrance or the exit, I believe.
The entrance.
Yeah.
Entrance, yeah.
And these two lines here are the ones from the exit. So they would be these two ones here from this area here.
Exactly.
This is the exit here, and this is the
Exactly.
main room, the Sala Libera, this one here. So as I mentioned before, the Libera light fixtures, they are DMX. So we created them as points. So you'll see here in the project that we have all of these points are the Libera light fixtures. And then these are all of the LED strips integrated into the wall. So as I mentioned, they are controlled pixel to pixel. And also just one more thing to mention is they are white, these LEDs. And just before passing on into showing you the projects inside of the mapping tool, just to show you a little bit the general system architecture of the installation. I don't know if you have used ProtoPixel before, but just to show you a little bit how it is set up. So basically you have the different luminaires, the LED strips, and the DMX. Each one connected to their controller for depending on the protocol, and all of these go connected to a network. Today we're going to be focusing on this side, that without connecting it for standalone mode, for the test, you can connect to the same network through a computer, which you have your softwares, which you're trying out your different contents, and send this image through NDI to the network. So then you will be able to visualize them directly on the light fixtures. And we'll see today how this is useful for when you're trying out content and you need to adjust the colors, you need to adjust movements, and you don't have the final content yet exported. So this is what we're going to show the process today. But then once you have decided your final content, you'll see that we export it and we upload it to the project. And this is when the process is final, when we upload it to the node. So once it is uploaded to the node, the installation is already standalone. The node can reproduce sound as well. And it can also permit you to control the installation from our ProtoPixel app. So, and now I will show you, before handing over to Joan, our project inside of the ProtoPixel mapping tool. So, as I mentioned, we support 2D images. So here we already have imported the images of the 2D, as I mentioned, of the different light fixtures. So just like in Photoshop, we can show and unshow these images. So once we had the image imported, what we did was create the different light fixtures on top of them. So as you can see, we have our digital light fixtures created inside, each one with the amount of pixels that correspond to that light fixture. So some were 48 pixels wide, others were about 60, I believe. So we go creating all of the different light fixtures inside of the mapping tool. This will give us a general idea of the resolution that we will need for our content. And we already have a general idea of how we want to divide the content onto the different light fixtures. We'll see after Joan's process how we export the video into the project, the final video, and you'll see how this part is important. So, Joan, all yours.
Okay, let's go hands-on. Let me share the screen also again. I believe I'm sharing still my website. Mainly to create the content for this project, we use a software called Touch Designer. And Touch Designer is a software, it's node-based, and it's primarily used for real-time content and control. And it's widely used for installations, for performances, and generative art. And we decided to use this software because in combination with NDI, it allows us to iterate very fast in a process of back and forth when we were there on site in Milano. And that really speed up the whole process, and like it made it possible to really fine tune and adjust to the detail what we wanted to do. So what I'm gonna do now, it's maybe just a basic example of how to use NDI in the mapping tool, in the ProtoPixel mapping tool, and in Touch Designer, and how they can communicate. So here you see on the screen, this is the Touch Designer project that was used in Milano. But let's just create first a simple example.
Oh, something simple for that's freaking out looking at this.
No, just with 2 nodes. We will use 2 nodes to do it. So as Catalina said, NDI is a protocol that is widely used to transmit audio and video through network. But at the same time, you can use it internally on the same computer, so you can route it on the same machine, which is what we are gonna do now. So first, what we need is to go to create a node, double click, and then we go into the top section. And here is already an out-of-the-box node called NDI out. And this, what will allow us is to create an NDI client that we will send a texture to the NDI server that will be on the ProtoPixel mapping tool. So here we create an NDI out, we put a name for the source, for the client, we can put webinar test, and we create some basic content with a noise animation, for example, that we send. We can really fast animate this noise with a function, that is in a function. So here we can see that there's a noise that is being animated, and then it could be just a matter of going to ProtoPixel, which I already have open. This is the project that Catalina was showing you. But if we go here on the top, on the content section, here are like different types of content.
Maybe I need to close and open. It's not appearing.
Maybe I need to open it. So here are different types of content that you can input on the software. One of them is the NDI. So we just click on NDI and we see that it appears here a small square. It is black. And in order to receive the texture from Touch Designer, we only have to go here on the right panel when it's where it says source, and select the source that we created on Touch Designer, which is the webinar test. So if we select the source, then we can see here that the texture is being transmitted live. And also very fast, we want for some reason to create more. It's just simple, I just copy this. Here it needs a different naming, so we can put 2. We can change a bit the noise. We can put the noise with color. The period, so we have this nice animation. Here we can also duplicate. And here we just select the other source. And here we can see that now we have the 2 contents live transmitted from Touch Designer. And then it would be a matter of placing these textures wherever we want, depending where the light fixtures are.
Exactly. So as you can see here, it's basically we are communicating directly with another software. And as I said before, any adjustments that Joan makes in real time inside of Touch Designer will be seen in real time automatically inside of the ProtoPixel mapping tool. So if you are on site connected with your computer directly to the network, to the light fixtures, you can adjust the content in real time and see the actual effect that it has in real time without having to export a video, for example, testing it out, then going back, modifying the video. It can be a much quicker process to be able to get the exact colors you need, the exact movements, and etc.
Exactly. So what I'm gonna do is just I'm gonna comment this, and I'm just gonna go through a bit the project itself, what we did for Milano. So we can start with the background, which we refer as layer 1, which is the ambience what we wanted to have on the back, that it was giving this sensation of freedom, of slow movement, that it's merely static. So for that, there we created like with Maurici, we fine-tuned like a gradient of colors that we liked on the lights. And once we defined that, we animated this gradient with some noise, as we can see here. And then in order to have also this depth on the background, we wanted to put some shadows on it. So in order to introduce this kind of like dark spots, again, we used a different noise, and we set it with a little bit of blur, and we set it to black color. And then what we did, it was just merge them. So this was the first layer that was in the background. Then the second and third were the clouds. So the clouds, well, what you see here are all clones of the first node, so it's basically all the same. So if we go inside, at the end, what I created, it was a texture, which was this one that was animated with a bit of noise. So I don't know if you can tell, but here it's moving a bit. So there's like this kind of moving circle. And this moving circle would have different parameters. Well, this cloud, as you can see here on the right, each of these nodes has a parameter of size, position, fade, opacity, and these parameters were animated after when I was creating a timeline according to the audio that I'm going to explain in a bit how I did that. So all these parameters were animated depending on the audio that was sent to us. And so basically that's the part of the second and third layers. And then the other layer, which was the air interferences, that had to be related also with this sound that you will hear of the interferences. To do that, the audio also was taken from the place where I did the timeline creation that I'm going to explain now, and the parameters of the audio were sent here in Touch Designer, and these parameters were controlling the brightness of the background, some parameters of the clouds, and also some parameters of the Libera lights. Libera lights is the last part of this project, which is the part that controls the Libera lights of the main room.
DMX fixtures, the ones hanging on the roof.
Exactly. To do that, well, it has this shape. Well, this shape, because if you remember on the mapping tool here, how we position the different lights were in this order. So this position, it matches with the different rectangles, like gray rectangles that were created.
Exactly.
And these rectangles represent the amount of intensity of each of the lights. So we could really fine tune there on the moment and going through each light using NDI and really going to the detail of, oh, we want this light that is on the center to maybe be less bright because it's facing to people, maybe the ones on the side to be a bit more intense. So with this, so all of this compose the main project. And then in order to animate all this with the audio and make it audio reactive, I used another software that
or weird.
Another software no. I'm gonna go very brief on that. But basically, as a software called Chaten by the amazing Ben Cooper, and it's this software, and this is a software that, let's say, that synchronize other softwares and makes really easy to have control and orchestrate all of these softwares together. And what I did here you can see there are 3 tracks on the lower part. The last is the master of the audio track, and the other ones are 2 tracks where I analyze the different sound interferences. And here on the first track is where I send the messages and the values that animate the different clouds. And all this information that is being created in Chaten is sent through OSC to Touch Designer. So for example, now if I press, I don't know if you hear, maybe I'm gonna put the volume a bit down. Here in Touch. So you see that these values on the right are already being animated. This means that are the values that I'm sending from Chaten. So as you can see, different clouds were animated. You see now that there's one. Maybe I can do it like this.
Yeah.
You see now that the different clouds are being shown, and probably now it will come a little audio reactive.
Yeah, we don't hear the audio, but it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. We understand.
You get the idea, right?
We get the idea.
And I think now you will see here these values that are reacting to audio and so on. I'm gonna stop this because I'm hearing the audio very loud. So once we got the animations, all the parameters, the velocity, the light intensities of all areas that we wanted, then we pass to the next step, which is once everything is tested live, the next step is to export it as a video. So for doing that, it's very easy also in Text Designer. There's like a node out of the box called Movie File Out, which you can find it here. And well, we have it here anyway. And what this node does, it's basically records what's coming in on the texture. So basically what we did is to record it. You can see here on the right a movie with H.264 format codec, and then we just press here record, and we recorded the whole sequence. And we recorded because there were different rooms on the space. We recorded different videos for each space, because maybe also sometimes in a space we wanted to have just a little bit more brightness or less, so we had to export different ones. And if I can show you the result of exporting that here in export. So for example, the video in the main room, it has audio, but I think you cannot hear it. So this would be, for example, on the main one, the one on the entrance, for example, is this one. So more or less, all of them follow the same principle. So at the end, we ended up with these 3 or 4 videos that after we were putting them in on the ProtoPixel mapping tool, as you can see here, and I think Catalina maybe will go through that.
Just a comment that sometimes thank you, Joan, that sometimes we see like how you look at videos. Sometimes you think the resolution is not great, but just to always keep into account that on lights, you never see things as it is an LED screen. So the main importance are like movements and color, but the resolution of the images is not quite important in lights. It's more important as the parameters that Joan mentioned, intensity, for example, and movements. So these are what we work mainly with when we are creating content. Okay, let's see. Joan, can you stop?
Yeah.
Thank you. So we will go back. I just want to go back 1 second to the system architecture to explain one thing, since Joan explained here. 1 second. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. So as Joan mentioned, he exported this the final content to a video. And just to go back to before I show you a little bit the setup. So NDI, as I said, is a communication protocol between softwares. Our node only allows you to run ProtoPixel software. So on the node, you cannot run, for example, Touch Designer also inside the node. So if you wanted to have a standalone installation, this is why we export the final content to a video, because we'll see now inside the mapping tool how we upload the final content as a video, and we can upload this project to the node and do not have to have an independent computer running, for example, with Touch Designer in the installation. If you did want to have something running in real time in an installation, you would need another computer to run the software and communicate it with the ProtoPixel system. So just to clarify a little bit this, and this is why also we wanted to show the benefits of using NDI in the test mode and when you're testing out to develop the final content. So I will go back to the project. So here we have our project again.
Or maybe not.
You see the mapping tool?
I see it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all black, no? Yeah. I see some lights here.
You see them? Okay, cool.
I am very small.
Yeah, okay. So I make them a little bit bigger. So just to show you a little bit how we would add content here. So as Joan mentioned, here I had the final export, and here instead of going to NDI, we would go to add content and as a video. So he has already exported the video onto the computer, and here we want to look for the final video. So in this case, also, as I mentioned, we already had the mapping of how we wanted the luminaire. So Joan created the video depending on this mapping inside of the mapping tool already. So in this case, it's not very specific since the squares and because how the light fixtures are. So we just want to make sure that each one is on the different light fixtures. For example, we can press play on the video here and we'll be able to see it. And basically, this is the process that we did for all the different videos. So if we go here, you can see that all of the videos are already imported on their different sections. And you can see all of them reproducing at the same time. So once this process is final of adding all of your videos into the project, what we would do now is export the project and upload it to our node. And once it is uploaded to our node, we will be able to control the installation with our ProtoPixel app, or just leave it in standalone mode just with this project running, basically. I think that's about it of the information that we had today. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Joan, or we can go to Q&A.
No, well, maybe it's worth mentioning that in the mapping tool, also you have the option on the content to use Siphon, which is similar to NDI, but it's available on Mac.
Yes.
Because I think NDI, it's not on Mac, right?
No, NDI. So NDI is, this is actually one of the questions that we have in the Q&A. So perfect. They are asking if NDI works with Mac and Windows. So NDI, it works with either Mac and Windows.
Okay.
Actually, since Siphon is actually another communication protocol, but Siphon works inside the same computer. So for example, if you have, this case would be fine. If you have the software on your computer, you can send the image also through Siphon, which is only for Mac, or its equivalent in Windows is called Spout. But since we do not have the Spout option inside of the mapping tool, this is when we recommend using NDI. And as Joan said before, NDI can be used inside of the same computer as he showed you now with Touch Designer, or you can also send from another computer. So if you have another computer with a software running, say, for example, a video editing software like After Effects or Adobe Premiere, and you're editing a video in real time, you can connect to the same network that each computer is connected to and the light fixtures, and you can be sending from one computer to another to the light fixtures. So this is what we would use.
Exactly.
NDI. So
maybe
it is.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
Maybe it's also worth mentioning that sometimes the NDI protocol applies a bit of compression, so it's always nice to check the output of the video that you create, how it looks on the lights, if the colors are the same. And Siphon in general does not, just to have this in mind as a reminder.
Okay, let's see if we have any other questions.
Questions.
So I do have a question of asking about our new content library, but unfortunately I cannot show you right now. We have the release right after this webinar. So for those that are anxious to know, that will be in our new release now after the webinar. You will be able to see new contents inside of our content library. We have a question from Giuliano. Who makes these contents, the client or ProtoPixel? Good question. So a little bit how I explained at the beginning. I'll go back to another one. It depends usually. So for example, let's go back here. So in this case, in this particular project, the client pretty much gave us his idea of what he wanted the content to be about. So sometimes we get a specific brief from a client. Sometimes the client knows exactly what he wants, and sometimes he just has a general concept of what he wants to do. So we are available to all the possibilities. We can create the content. The content can be created, for example, by the client himself or by a designer of the client, and we can implement that content inside of the mapping tool. So give them support to be able to implement the content inside the mapping tool. But there are many different cases, and we can help with all of them.
Yeah. I think in this case, they have a presentation, they send us a few images, even like a rendered video of a bit of like the animation of their idea. And then from there also it was like a starting point to develop then the content in Touch Designer. Exactly.
Yeah, so I think it depends on the project, Giuliano, and basically it depends. As you can see, it's a very technical process as well, creating content. So sometimes the client doesn't have this technical knowledge to be able to create the content, which is why they contact us, and we work together with our partners to create the best content for the project. Okay, we have two more questions. What was the most challenging aspect of the Aria Libera project, and how did you solve it, Joan?
Well, there was like a...
You want to talk about compression?
No. No, I think, well, one of the things is that when we were there to Milano, at the end, like you have like a limited amount of time to install, to check the contents, even to create new animations, because you see that what you have done, maybe it's not what you expected in real life. But at the end, I guess the challenge was going a bit against the clock. We had an audio of, first we had an audio of an hour. So like creating animations and timelines for an hour, the way we wanted to have it sync with the audio, it was not possible. So at the end we shorted it to 2025. But yeah, I think the biggest challenge there was being on site and deliver it on time. But thanks to using this process of like Touch Designer, NDI, and ProtoPixel, it really speed up all the process and it made it possible.
Okay, we'll keep going quickly because we're running out of time and getting a lot of questions.
Okay.
Omar is asking, do you need to leave the NDI server connected, or can you leave it in standalone mode on the node? Do you need to leave the NDI server connected, or can you leave? Yes, you need to leave it connected, Omar. If I understand your question correctly, it has to be connected to be able to be visualizing the content in real time. I hope you answered this question. If not, you have my email, then you can email me a more specific question. Another question, what kind of new content should we expect in the library update? Very anxious, everybody's to see our content library. We will have new contents. Now we are beginning to separate a little bit our contents in different kinds of categories related to everyday life. So we are starting this process in our new contents that we are updating. You will have new interactive contents. You will have new artistic contents that you will be able to see. You will have new tools that you will be able to see. For example, a mask tool, which allows you to use two contents at the same time and subtract one from the other. So you will have at least 6 or 7 new contents that you will be able to play with this afternoon after our release. Another one is asking, where can I download the ProtoPixel tool? Alina, I don't know if you can put in the chat maybe the link for the download. And afterwards, anyway, anybody that is inscribed in the webinar will receive an email. And I believe also in this email, you will be able to receive the link to download the new ProtoPixel mapping tool. And I have one more question for you, Joan.
Sure.
Which is not really ProtoPixel, but maybe since you're here, you can answer it for them.
Okay.
To integrate Ableton tracks better with Shaitan.
What again? Repeat. To integrate
Ableton tracks better with Shaitan.
I think if I had to, or I wanted to use Ableton as a software to play, to have the audio even in a real-time environment where you want to have the audio live. And in Touch Designer, there's already like a default package called TD Ableton. And with this package in Touch Designer, it's really like straight away, it connects Touch Designer and Ableton, and from there you can access all sorts of like parameters, like even like MIDI, the audio of the tracks, and yeah, like you can get everything from Ableton. So if you want to connect both, I would say do that. TD Ableton it's called.
Thank you. So we are arriving to the end, but we have put the link to download the free trial in the chat. And again, here you will be able to see our new content library, be able to play with content, be able to test out the NDI function or Siphon function if you have Mac with different kinds of softwares. And if you have any troubles or if you need any help, you can contact us directly at support@protopixel.io. And if it is related to contents, you will be put in contact with me, and I will hopefully be able to support you with starting to learn the ProtoPixel mapping tool. If we don't have any more questions, I think that's a wrap. Here's my email as well, if you want direct email to ask any questions about content-related services. So I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks all for coming, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Joan.
And I'll see you soon, somewhere in Barcelona.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.